Lila's head throbbed before her eyes even opened. The light slipping through the curtains felt too bright, too sharp, slicing through the dull ache at the back of her skull. She groaned softly and turned over, expecting to feel the rough sheets of her tiny apartment bed. But the fabric beneath her fingers was soft, expensive, silk. Her eyes flew open. She froze. This wasn't her room. The ceiling above her wasn't the cracked, white-painted one she stared at every night. It was high, dark, with gold accents curling around the edges. Her pulse kicked. "What the?" she whispered, pushing herself up. The blanket slid down, revealing a man's shirt on her crisp white, too big, and definitely not hers. Her stomach flipped. Memories from last night flashed in fragments, her best friend. The birthday shots, the dance floor lights spinning, the laughter, and then a man, dark suit. Eyes that had caught hers through the crowd and held them, finally awake. The voice came from her left, deep, smooth, and commanding. Lila's breath caught. He sat in an armchair by the window, sleeves rolled up, a watch glinting on his wrist. The sunlight framed his sharp jaw and dark hair, making him look both too real and unreal at the same time. "Who are you?" she managed, her voice small but steady. He didn't answer right away. He just studied her, like she was a puzzle he'd already solved but wasn't ready to reveal the answer to. Then, slowly, he stood. Adrian Moretti. The name hit her like a jolt. Everyone in the city knew that name, whispered in bars, murmured in fear. The Moretti family ran half the underground. Lila's throat went dry. "Moretti? As in, yes." His lips twitched, almost amused at her reaction. "As in the one you shouldn't be waking up beside." Her pulse raced. "Okay, so whatever happened last night, I'll just get dressed, and we'll pretend this didn't—" He cut her off, stepping closer. "You're not going anywhere." Lila blinked. "Excuse me?" Adrian stopped right in front of her, his shadow falling across the bed. His eyes locked on hers, unreadable but burning. "From now on, you stay." Her heart stumbled. "What do you mean I stay? I don't even know you." His gaze softened just slightly. "You will." For a moment, neither of them spoke. Only the faint hum of the city outside filled the silence. Lila wanted to look away, but she couldn't. Something about him, the calm in his danger, the quiet control in his tone, pulled her in even as her instincts screamed to run. Finally, she tore her eyes from his and whispered, "Why me?" Adrian's jaw tightened, and for the first time, there was something almost personal in his expression. "Because last night, you saved my life." Lila's breath hitched. "What?" He leaned in, voice low, close enough for her to feel his breath. "You don't remember, do you?" She shook her head, heart pounding. A faint, knowing smile curved his lips. "Then I guess you'll have to stay until you do." Lila's lips parted, but no words came out. Stay until I remember? The idea sounded insane, but so did waking up in the house of the city's most feared man. Adrian turned away, slipping his hands into his pockets like he hadn't just turned her world upside down. "Clothes are in the closet to your right. Breakfast is downstairs. Elena will show you." And then, without another word, he left the room. The door closed softly behind him. For a full minute, Lila didn't move. She sat there, staring at the spot where he'd stood, her pulse still unsteady. Then she let out a shaky breath and muttered, "What the hell did I get myself into?" When she finally climbed out of bed, her legs felt weak. The floor beneath her feet was marble, smooth and cold, the kind that didn't belong in normal homes. The room itself looked like it belonged in a magazine, dark wood furniture, gold accents, heavy curtains. Everything screamed, money, Mafia money. She opened the closet and nearly choked. Dresses, shoes, all her size. None of them were hers. "What the?" she whispered again, trailing her fingers across the soft fabric of a cream dress. Whoever this man was, he had planned for her to stay. Her mind started replaying bits of last night, blurry but slowly sharpening. The club, the loud music, her best friend Jenna pushing another drink into her hand. The stranger at the bar, tall, dark, magnetic. Those same eyes she'd just seen again. Then, a flash, a shout, a gunshot. Lila gasped and gripped the edge of the closet door. The memory came fast, the man collapsing, the crowd screaming, her body instinctively ducking. Someone had pushed her to the ground, or maybe she'd pushed him. Her heart raced. Oh, God. She pressed a hand to her chest and tried to breathe. The memory faded. Again. But her gut told her one thing: Adrian was right. Something had happened at that club. Something big. When she finally gathered enough courage to leave the room, she found a woman in her late 40s waiting in the hallway, smiling kindly. "Miss Lila? I'm Elena," Mr. Moretti said to show you around. Lila forced a polite smile, trying not to look as terrified as she felt. "Thanks." As Elena led her downstairs, Lila took everything in the tall ceilings, the chandeliers, the faint smell of coffee and sandalwood in the air. Even without seeing Adrian, she could feel him here. His presence clung to every corner. When they reached the dining room, the table was already set. Fresh croissants, fruit, coffee steaming in fine china. Lila sat down slowly, her stomach twisting too tight to eat. She picked at the edge of her napkin, thoughts running wild. He said, "I saved his life." What does that even mean? Then another memory flickered, his hand gripping hers, his voice in her ear, low and urgent. "Don't move!" A second later, a bullet whizzed past them. Her chest tightened. She had been there when someone tried to kill him. Lila leaned back in her chair, realizing this wasn't just about a hangover or a one-night mistake. Whatever happened that night tied her to Adrian Moretti in a way she didn't understand yet. And maybe that's why he said she couldn't leave. Her fingers trembled slightly as she lifted the coffee cup. The taste of it grounded her, warm and bitter. But then, "Couldn't wait for me to join you?" The voice came from behind her, smooth and teasing this time. She turned. Adrian stood in the doorway, no jacket, shirt unbuttoned, just enough to show a hint of his chest. There was a faint bruise near his collarbone, and suddenly, she knew that gunshot hadn't missed completely. Her eyes widened. "You were shot." He smiled faintly. "It grazed me. Nothing serious." She frowned. "That's not nothing." Adrian's lips twitched. "So, you do care." Her cheeks heated instantly. No, that's not what I meant." He walked toward her, slow and deliberate. "Then what did you mean, Dolcezza?" The word rolled off his tongue like silk. "Sweetheart." Lila swallowed hard. "That I didn't want anyone dying in front of me, that's all." Adrian leaned close, eyes glinting. "Then you should stay close to me." "Just in case." Her heart stuttered again, not from fear this time, but something she couldn't name. He smiled, brushing past her to take the seat across the table. "Eat, Lila." "You'll need your strength." "For what?" she asked softly. His eyes met hers, calm but sharp. "For remembering everything." The rest of breakfast passed in uneasy silence. Adrian barely spoke, and Lila was too afraid to ask anything else. Every time her gaze met his, her throat went dry. He ate slowly, calmly, like a man used to being in control of every second that passed. When she pushed her plate away, he glanced up. "Not hungry?" Lila shook her head, her fingers twisting the napkin on her lap. "I'm not used to this kind of breakfast. Usually it's coffee and a banana if I'm lucky." A faint smile curved his lips. "Get used to more. I'm not staying long enough to get used to anything," she muttered. But he heard her. He leaned back in his chair, his dark eyes studying her face like he could see through every thought. "That's not your choice anymore, Lila." Her pulse jumped. "You can't keep me here." "I can," he said simply, his voice quiet but firm. "And I will." He stood and walked out of the dining room before she could argue, leaving her sitting there with a lump in her throat. Lila exhaled shakily and stared at the half-empty plate in front of her. Her mind raced. She needed answers, or at least her phone. Maybe she could call Jenna. But as she started to rise, she heard voices echoing from the hall. One of them was Adrian's. He wasn't shouting, but his tone had that deep, dangerous calm that made her skin prickle. Lila's curiosity won. She walked slowly toward the sound, keeping to the wall so her footsteps wouldn't echo on the marble. The voice on the other end of the call was muffled, but Adrian's wasn't. "I don't care who he works for," he said, his tone low. "Find him before he finds her again." Her heart stuttered. "Her?" He paused, listening. "Yes, the girl. I said no one touches her. She stays here. That's an order." Lila's stomach knotted. Every instinct told her to back away, but she couldn't stop listening. "Jenna is handled," he continued. "No, not like that. She's not to be touched either. She's been warned to stay quiet." Lila froze. Handled? Warned? Her hand went to her mouth. He ended the call, the quiet click of the phone echoing in the hall. Lila stepped back too fast, bumping into the edge of a table. A vase wobbled and fell. She gasped as it shattered on the floor. The noise made Adrian turn instantly. His eyes locked on hers. "Lila," he said slowly, his tone unreadable. "How much did you hear?" Her heart hammered against her ribs. "Enough," he sighed, sliding his hands into his pockets as he walked toward her. "You shouldn't be listening to conversations that don't concern you." "They do concern me!" she snapped, her voice shaking. "You said my friend's name. What does that mean she's handled? What did you do to Jenna?" "Nothing you need to worry about. Adrian." Her voice broke on his name. "Tell me you didn't hurt her." He stopped just a few feet from her, his gaze locked on hers. "Lila, I told you she's safe. That's not what you said on the phone," she shouted, taking a step back. "You said you handled her. What does that even mean?" His jaw tightened. "It means she knows to stay quiet about what happened that night." Lila's breath hitched. "You threatened her?" He didn't answer. He didn't need to. "Oh my God!" She shook her head, backing away from him. "You did, didn't you? I can't believe this." Adrian's eyes softened, just barely. "I didn't hurt her, Lila. I wouldn't. How am I supposed to believe that?" she whispered, her throat tight. You're part of them. The Mafia. You think you can just decide who gets to live or who gets to stay?" He took another step forward. "You think I wanted this life? I don't know what you want." She burst out. "You say you're protecting me, but all I feel is trapped." For a long moment, neither of them spoke. The silence stretched, heavy with everything unsaid. Then Adrian's voice dropped lower, rougher. "You were there that night because of me. If I hadn't walked into that club, you wouldn't have been caught in the crossfire. You saved my life, Lila. That means I owe you mine." Her lips parted, but no sound came out. He moved closer, close enough that she could see the faint bruise on his jaw, the tired lines near his eyes. "If anyone touches you, it won't be to scare you, it'll be to kill you. That's why you can't leave. Not because I'm keeping you prisoner, but because out there, you won't survive." Lila swallowed hard, her chest tight. "You sound so sure. I have to be." The way he said it made something inside her tremble. She looked away, trying to blink back the tears burning her eyes. I just want my life back. My job, my apartment, my friend." Adrian hesitated, then reached out, brushing his knuckles gently against her arm. "You'll have all of that again. Just not yet." His voice was low, steady, but careful, like he was afraid to break her. Lila stared at the floor. "Do you even hear yourself? You sound like you own me." His hand dropped, his jaw tightening. "I don't own you, Lila. Then stop acting like you do." His eyes darkened at that, and for a second she thought he'd snap back. But instead, he said quietly, "I'm not used to being questioned." "Well, get used to it." she said, her voice trembling but strong. Something flickered in his gaze, then surprise, maybe even admiration. He took a breath, then nodded once. Fair enough. They stood there for a moment, both of them silent. Then Adrian said, softer this time, "Come with me." Lila frowned. "Where?" "You'll see." She hesitated, but followed as he led her through a long hallway, down a flight of stairs that opened into a wide underground garage. Cars lined the space, black, sleek, expensive. But it wasn't the cars that made her stop. It was the far corner, where a man stood holding a file. Adrian took the file and handed it to her. "Read it." Lila's hands trembled as she opened it. Photos. Reports. Everything from the club, the shooting, the police statements. Her name. Jenna's. And near the bottom, a photo of the man who'd fired the gun. Her stomach dropped. "He was aiming at you." Adrian nodded. "You stepped in front of me." Her eyes went wide. "That's why you said I saved you." "Yes." Lila pressed a hand to her forehead. "This is crazy. I don't even remember doing that." "You will," he said quietly. "The memories come back in pieces." She looked up at him, confusion and fear tangled in her chest. "And when they do?" He held her gaze. "Then you'll understand why I said you can't leave." His voice was firm, but there was something else in it now, something softer, almost pained. Lila stared at him for a long moment. For the first time, she saw the man behind the power, not just the Mafia boss, but someone tired, wounded, carrying more than he could admit. When she finally spoke, her voice was small. "I don't know if I can trust you." He stepped closer, close enough that she could feel the heat of him, smell that faint mix of leather and spice that always clung to him. "Then I'll make you." Lila's breath caught. That sounds like a threat. His lips curved, just slightly. "It's a promise." Her cheeks flushed before she could stop it. "You really don't stop, do you?" "Not when it comes to you," he murmured, his gaze locked on hers. "You walked into my life the night someone tried to end it. Maybe that means something." The air between them thickened, charged. Lila's pulse beat in her throat, and for a second, she forgot to breathe. Then Adrian turned away, his tone suddenly cool again. "Rest, Lila. You'll need it." "For what?" she asked softly. He looked over his shoulder, his eyes catching the light. "For whatever comes next." And with that, he walked away, leaving her alone with Tuso, the file in her shaking hands and a truth she wasn't ready to face. Because no matter how hard she tried to deny it, one thing was becoming clear. The most dangerous thing about Adrian Moretti wasn't his world. It was the way she was starting to feel whenever he looked at her. Sleep never came. The mansion was too big, too silent, the kind of quiet that hummed under your skin and made you feel like the walls were listening. Lila turned on her side, staring at the ceiling. Every time she shut her eyes, she saw flashes of the club lights, shouting, a gunshot, and then him, Adrian, Marcelli. The man who'd said, "From now on, you stay." She kicked off the blanket with a small sigh. The clock on the wall glowed past midnight. Her heart still felt like it hadn't slowed since she woke up in his bed that morning. Fine. If she couldn't sleep, she'd move. Pulling one of his spare shirts over her tank top, she padded barefoot down the long hallway. The marble was cold under her feet. Every step echoed softly, reminding her just how alone she was in this massive place. But she wasn't alone. Not really. She could feel him, that strange pull, like a wire stretched too tight somewhere between them. The staircase curved down into a wide hallway lit by a few golden sconces. She followed it until voices drifted from a room on the right. Lila froze. "The shooter didn't make it out alive," a man was saying. "But his boss, Rossi, he's moving again. Word is he wants to finish what he started." Another voice, rough and tired, replied, "Does Adrian know?" "He knows everything." Lila's heart picked up. She peeked around the corner just enough to see two men in suits, standing near the kitchen doors. Guards. They looked like they hadn't slept either. So there was someone after Adrian. Maybe that's why he'd kept her here. Maybe she'd seen something at the club she wasn't supposed to. Her mind ran wild, until a low voice behind her said, "You don't sleep much, do you?" She spun around fast. Adrian stood a few feet away, half in shadow, shirt sleeves rolled to his forearms, a faint bruise near his jaw that hadn't been there before. His eyes found her like they always did, steady, unreadable, a little too calm. I couldn't," she stammered, clutching the fabric of his shirt at her sides. He glanced past her toward the kitchen where his men were. "Eavesdropping is dangerous in this house." "I wasn't," she began, then sighed. "Okay, maybe a little, but you're not exactly telling me anything either." He arched a brow. "And what would you like me to tell you, Lila?" The way he said her name made her chest tighten. She folded her arms. "Maybe why there are men talking about gunshots and people dying while I'm stuck here pretending this is normal?" He took a slow step forward. "It's not normal, but it's safe. For now," she muttered. Adrian's mouth curved, not quite a smile. "You don't trust me. Should I?" He stopped just in front of her, close enough that she had to tilt her chin up to meet his eyes. "You're alive because of me. That's a start." Her pulse jumped. "And Jenna?" she blurted. "My best friend, what happened to her? You said you'd taken care of it. What does that even mean, Adrian? Did you—" Her voice broke slightly. "Did you hurt her?" His gaze hardened, sharp enough to make her heart stumble. "No," he said quietly. "She's safe. We made sure she got home." "You think I'd kill your friend?" "I don't know what you'd do," she said honestly. For a moment, the tension between them thickened like heat building before a storm. Then he exhaled and rubbed a hand over his jaw. "If I wanted to hurt her, I wouldn't bother denying it." Lila searched his face. "Then why didn't you tell me that sooner?" "Because you were scared," he said simply. "And I didn't want to make it worse." That caught her off guard. The Mafia boss cared if she was scared? He moved past her, into the dim light. She turned as he poured himself a glass of something dark from a decanter. His movements were calm, deliberate, like a man who'd lived his whole life on the edge and learned to hide the weight of it. "You shouldn't walk around the house alone at night," he said without looking at her. "I wasn't planning on getting shot in your hallway," she replied softly. He almost smiled at that. Almost. "You have spirit. I like that." She raised a brow. "That's supposed to be a compliment?" He turned toward her again, his eyes glinting. "It's an observation." Lila's throat felt dry. The air between them had shifted again, heavy and charged. "You can't keep me here forever, Adrian." He stepped closer. "You sound like you want to leave." "Shouldn't I?" His voice dropped, deep and quiet. "Then why haven't you tried?" Her breath caught. She hated that he was right. He reached out, brushing his fingers against a loose strand of her hair. The touch sent a tremor down her spine. "You're not afraid of me," he said. She blinked. "You think that's a good thing?" "It's inconvenient," he murmured. Lila swallowed hard, caught between wanting to step back and not being able to. "You keep saying I should stay, that I'm safe here. But safe from what? From you?" His jaw flexed. "From people who'd use you to get to me. So that's what this is? I'm your, what, hostage?" His eyes softened a little, though his voice stayed low. "No, you're my responsibility." That word responsibility stung more than she expected. She took a step back, trying to steady herself. "I didn't ask for that. I didn't ask for you to walk into my line of fire either," he said quietly. That shut her up. She remembered the flash of light, the sound of the gun going off, and the way he'd shoved her down behind him, his body covering hers. Taking the hit meant for him. He noticed the way her eyes softened. "You remember?" he said. She nodded slowly. "Pieces. Not all of it. Good." He drained his glass and set it down. "You shouldn't have to." She watched him for a long moment, the lamplight catching the lines of his face. Strong, dangerous, but not cruel. Something about that mix made her chest ache. "You're impossible," she whispered. His lips tilted. "So are you." Lila crossed her arms, trying to ignore the warmth rising in her cheeks. "You talk like you have all the answers." "I don't," he said. "But I know what I want." She hesitated. "And what's that?" Adrian's gaze lingered on her for a long, slow beat before he said, "You to stop looking at me like you're trying not to feel something." Her breath caught. Again, her fingers tightening against her arms. He stepped forward, close enough that she could feel the faint brush of his breath. "Because, Lila," he added softly, "the more you fight it, the harder it'll pull you in." Her heartbeat felt too loud. "Is that a warning?" "It's the truth." The silence that followed was thick, full of everything they weren't saying. Finally, he moved back the space between them, cooling but still charged. "Get some rest, Bella. Tomorrow's going to be louder than tonight." She didn't ask what that meant. He walked past her, the faint scent of his cologne trailing after him, and disappeared down the hall. Lila stood there for a long time, her pulse still racing, the memory of his nearness humming in her veins. Maybe she was crazy for feeling this, for wanting the man who lived in danger like it was part of his blood. But as she made her way back to her room, one thought wouldn't leave her mind. She wasn't afraid of him. She was afraid of what she'd already started to feel. Lila woke to the sound of voices low, sharp, and coming from somewhere below her window. Her heart kicked fast. For a second she lay still, listening. "Bring him around the side," a man whispered harshly. "He's bleeding too much." "He'll live," another voice replied. "Adrian wants him awake." Her stomach tightened. She pushed off the blanket and crossed the room, her feet cold on the floor. The early morning light was thin, barely brushing the edges of the long curtains. She slipped between them and peeked outside. And froze. Two of Adrian's men dragged a man across the yard, the same man she saw in her half-memory, the one whose gun flashed near the club exit. His shirt was torn, his face bruised and swollen. He looked terrified. They shoved him toward a stone courtyard near a small fountain. Adrian stood there waiting. Lila's heart thudded painfully. He looked nothing like the man who spoke gently to her last night. His posture was straight, stiff with cold control. His eyes were dark and flat. His jaw was hard enough to cut glass. There was no softness, no warmth, nothing human in the way he watched the bleeding man pushed onto his knees. A shiver ran through her. This was the Mafia boss. This was the man people feared. She pressed a hand to the glass, breath fogging the window. She shouldn't watch. She knew she shouldn't, but she couldn't move. Adrian didn't raise his voice. He didn't need to. "Who sent you?" he asked quietly. The shooter spat blood onto the ground. "Go to hell." Adrian didn't blink. He nodded once to the guard behind him. There was a sickening crack. The man screamed. Lila covered her mouth, eyes burning, but she didn't look away. "I will ask again," Adrian said calmly. "Who sent you?" "No one," the shooter gasped. "It was just a job, I was told. I was told not to name." Adrian crouched down slowly, his voice low and steady, almost gentle, which somehow made it worse. "You aimed a gun at my chest, and she was with me. So do not insult me by thinking you'll leave this place without talking." The man's breath shook. "I don't know the name. I swear it," they just said. "Finish Marcelli. That's all I know." Silence stretched long and dangerous. Adrian stood. "So you were sent. That's enough." Panic flashed across the shooter's face. Please, I told you everything." Adrian turned to his men. "Get him out of my sight. I don't want his blood on the courtyard." Lila stumbled back from the window, heart slamming. She pressed her fingers to her lips, trying to steady her breath. She had known he was dangerous, but seeing him like that, so calm while the man begged, it shook something inside her. A soft knock hit her door. Her pulse spiked. "Lila!" Adrian's voice. For a moment she couldn't speak. "Come in," she finally. whispered. The door opened, and Adrian stepped inside. He had changed clothes already. Dark shirt, sleeves rolled up, no trace of violence on him, not even a wrinkle. But his energy was different. Sharper, controlled, heavy. He studied her for a long moment. "You're pale." "I'm fine," she lied. His head tilted slightly. "You saw something." She swallowed, her fingers twisting the hem of her shirt. I heard voices. I looked outside. He didn't move, but something in his expression tightened. "You weren't supposed to see that." A flicker of anger? Or was it worry? She couldn't tell. "I didn't mean to," she whispered. "I just heard, I thought." "I know," he said softly. "I'm not angry at you." He closed the distance between them slowly, like he was approaching something fragile or dangerous. "What you saw," he said, voice low, "is the part of my world I warned you about." Lila's throat tightened. "You were hurting him. I was questioning him." His eyes softened just slightly. "If I wanted him dead, he would be." Her stomach flipped. She didn't know why her eyes suddenly felt hot fear, anger, or something worse. "I know what you are, Adrian," she whispered. "But seeing it, it's different." He reached out, gently touching her wrist. "Does it make you afraid of me?" Her voice cracked. "I don't know." His hand tightened slightly, not enough to hurt, just enough to anchor her. "You saw me being a monster," he said quietly. "And you're still standing here." She blinked fast, looking away. "Because I don't know where else to go." He stepped closer, his breath brushing her forehead. "Then this is where you stay." Her eyes lifted to his dark, steady, burning in a way that made her chest ache. "I didn't do it for revenge," he added softly. "I did it because you were there that night. Because he almost hit you. Because if he had," he swallowed, jaw tightening, "I would have turned the whole city upside down." Her breath caught. That was not an ordinary confession. It wasn't even love. It was something deeper, darker, almost primal. Slowly, Adrian reached up and brushed a thumb along her cheek. Her skin burned under the touch. "You're shaking," he murmured. "I'm not scared," she whispered. "Not of you." He exhaled slow, shaky, almost relieved, and leaned his forehead against hers. That closeness made her chest twist painfully. "You should be," he whispered, but she shook her head. "If I was really scared, I would have run the moment I woke up in your bed." A small breath escaped him, almost a laugh, almost a groan. "You drive me insane, Lila." His fingers slid to the back of her neck, gentle but possessive, pulling her closer. Her heart hammered against her ribs. Her breath hitched. Her knees felt weak. And his lips brushed her cheek, just barely. Soft, warm, controlled, too controlled. Her hands curled against his shirt. "Adrian." He pulled back just enough to look into her eyes, his voice low and rough. "If I kiss you right now," he murmured, "I won't stop." Her heart jumped. He searched her face, every breath, every tremble, then stepped back, slowly, painfully, like it physically hurt him to let go. "For now," he whispered, "I need you safe, more than I need you close." Lila's breath shakily left her chest. She knew what he meant. She knew there was a war coming, one with names, enemies, and shadows she didn't understand yet. But she also knew something else. She wasn't going anywhere. Lila waited until the house settled. Dinner had been quiet, too quiet. Adrian barely spoke. His eyes kept drifting to her like he wanted to say something or hold something back. And the way he had ordered people around after catching the shooter that afternoon made her skin crawl. He was gentle with her. He was ruthless with everyone else. Now, hours later, she sat on the edge of her bed, her fingers twisting the blanket. Her heart felt full and tight, and she hated that it was because of him. Why does he look at me like that? Like he's known me forever? Like he's trying to tell me something without using words? Her chest burned with questions she couldn't swallow anymore. So when she heard his steps outside her door, she opened it before she could stop herself. He froze. His black shirt was half unbuttoned, sleeves rolled up, jaw sharp enough to cut glass. His eyes dragged slowly down her face, then back up, softening in a way that made her breath hitch. "What are you doing out of bed?" he asked, low. "I need to know something," Lila whispered. "I need the truth." His brows pulled together. "About what?" "You treat me like—" She shook her head, biting her lip. "Like you know me. Like you've watched me for years. Like I'm not just some girl who got caught in a shootout." A muscle jumped in his jaw. "Am I?" she added, voice cracking. "Am I just a witness you're protecting? Or something else?" Adrian stepped closer. Too close. His scent clean soap and something darker wrapped around her. "You're not just anything," he said. "But what am I?" She pushed, heart pounding hard. His eyes softened, then hardened again, fighting something inside him. "That's not a question I'm ready to answer," he said quietly. The words sank like stones in her chest. She looked away first. "Fine." He reached as if to touch her cheek, then dropped his hand before he made contact. His voice dropped even lower. "Lila, don't wander around the house tonight. You need rest." She almost rolled her eyes. "I'm not tired. You should try. I'm not a child, Adrian." He held her gaze for a long moment, something heavy and unreadable in his eyes. "Good night, Lila." He walked off before she could reply. She closed her door slowly, but her mind wouldn't let her sit still. Her room felt too small, too quiet, too full of thoughts of him. She needed air, or distraction, or something that didn't involve thinking about his eyes, so she slipped out of her room. The hallway was dim, with soft lights glowing along the walls. Her bare feet made no sound on the polished floors. She passed a few closed doors, trying to guess what each room held. Offices? Storage? Guard rooms? Then she saw it. A door slightly open. Just a crack. Maybe a maid forgot to close it. Maybe someone stepped out in a hurry. Lila didn't want trouble. She just wanted something to do. So she reached out to push it shut. But the moment she touched it, the bulb inside flicked on automatically. The light spilled across the floor, landing right on a picture frame. Her picture. Lila froze. She blinked, thinking she imagined it. But no, the frame on the wall held a clear photo of her laughing with Jenna at their college graduation. Her breath escaped in a shaky rush. "What the hell?" Her hand pushed the door open without her meaning to. Her feet moved on their own. The room wasn't big, but every wall was covered, not with random things, with pictures. Her, all of her. Her at 18, smiling at a carnival. Her picking up coffee on a rainy morning. Her walking home from work. Her sitting by the river last summer. Her blowing out her 23rd birthday candle. Some were printed. Some were pinned. Some were taken from far away, blurry. Some were close up, too close. Her mouth ran dry. There were hundreds, maybe more. "What is this?" she whispered to no one. Every picture told the same story. Adrian didn't just meet her last night. He didn't just protect her by chance. He had been watching her for years. She pressed a hand to her chest, trying to steady the wild beating. "Who are you, Adrian Moretti?" she breathed. Suddenly, footsteps echoed down the hall. Slow, heavy, familiar. And getting closer, Lila's whole body went cold. He was coming, and she was in the one room she was never meant to see. Lila stumbled back from the wall just as his footsteps stopped outside the door. Her breath caught in her throat. The door pushed open slowly. Adrian stood there, not angry, not shocked, just looking at her with an expression that made her stomach twist. He didn't even look at the photos. He looked straight at her. "Lila," he said quietly, voice low and rough. "You weren't supposed to be here." She shook her head fast, heart racing so hard it hurt. "What is all this?" Why do you have all these pictures of me? Adrian, what is this? He stepped inside the room, closing the door behind him. The soft click of the lock made her jump. He lifted both hands slowly, like he didn't want to scare her more than she already was. I'm not here to hurt you, he said. You need to believe that. Her eyes darted around the room again. Her own face stared back on every wall. It felt like the air was too thick to breathe. You've been watching me, she whispered. For years. Adrian, I don't even know you. His jaw tensed. His eyes softened painfully. But I know you, he said. Her skin crawled. How? How do you know me? I've never met you. Yes, he said softly. You have. She froze. Her heart stopped, then thudded back in a heavy, confused beat. What? Adrian slowly pointed to her wrist. The bracelet, he said. The one you never take off. Her hand instinctively covered the small silver bracelet she had worn forever. The thin charms, a tiny moon and a tiny star, clicked softly under her fingers. She didn't even remember when she got it, just that it had always been with her. What about it? She whispered. His voice lowered, deep and steady. I gave that to you. Her whole body went numb. No, you couldn't have. I've had this since you were 6, he finished for her. Her ears rang. I don't remember being 6. I don't remember any of that. He nodded slowly, painfully. I know. She stared at him, stunned into silence. He took one slow step toward her. You had a car accident, he said. You were in the back seat. Your parents. His voice tightened a little. They didn't survive. Her hand trembled against her bracelet. No one ever talked about that night. Her aunt only told her she came to live with her after a tragedy, a simple word, no details. My memories, she whispered. Is that why I don't remember anything from before living with my aunt? Yes. Lila backed away until her shoulder hit the wall. But how do you know all this? Adrian, who are you to me? He let out a slow breath, like he had been holding it for years. We were neighbors, he said. Our families spent almost every day together. You followed me everywhere, Lila. You were tiny and stubborn, and you used to pull on my sleeve whenever you wanted attention. A small, broken smile pulled at his mouth, like the memory hurt and comforted him at the same time. You were my best friend, he said. Lila stared at him like the earth had tilted under her feet. I don't remember, she whispered, voice cracking. I don't remember any of that. His eyes softened even more, a hint of something raw in them. I know, he said. That's why I kept my distance all these years. Her breath hitched. Distance? Adrian, this. She waved her hand around the room. This is not distance. He didn't even flinch. I watched you because I promised your mother I would. She froze. My mother? He nodded. The night before the accident, she told me, that if anything ever happened, I should look after you. I was a boy then, but I took it like a vow. His voice dropped lower. And I don't break vows. Lila pressed a hand against her forehead, trying to think through the shock. So you just kept watching me? My whole life? And you didn't think that was wrong? Adrian didn't move. Maybe it was, he said softly. But I couldn't stop. Not when I knew someone out there might want to hurt you someday. Not when I knew what kind of world I was growing into. His eyes locked with hers. And when I saw you at the club that night and saw the gun, everything inside me snapped. Her breath grew shaky. So you didn't just save me because I was there. You saved me because you're mine, he said quietly. Her whole body went still. He didn't say it like a threat. He said it like a truth he had carried too long. Lila swallowed hard, backing away until she hit the corner of the room. I don't know what to do with this, she whispered. I don't even know who I am to you. He stepped closer, slow, careful. You are someone I never forgot, he said. Even when you forgot me. Her eyes burned. Her pulse shook. Everything inside her was confused, scared, drawn in, pushed away all at once. "Adrian," she whispered, voice unsteady. "Why didn't you tell me sooner?" His answer was soft, almost broken. "Because I knew that once you remembered any part of me, you'd never leave this world again. His world, his vow, his obsession, his protection." Everything clicked into place. And for the first time, Lila understood what she had really walked into. Lila didn't sleep, not even for a minute. She sat on the edge of her bed, her hands shaking in her lap, her mind spinning over everything Adrian had said. The pictures, the bracelet, the accident, the fact he knew her when she was a child, and she couldn't remember him at all. And his last words, "You are someone I never forgot, even when you forgot me." She pressed her hands over her face. God, what am I supposed to do with that? A slow ache built in her chest. She hated how a part of her felt pulled toward him, even after everything. That made no sense. He was terrifying. He was powerful. He kept pictures of her in a secret room. He followed a promise from a lifetime ago and turned it into something too big, too heavy. She needed space. She needed air. She stood, hugging her arms around herself, and walked to the bedroom window. The mansion grounds were quiet. Too quiet. Tall walls, guards at the gate, lights glowing along the garden paths. It looked peaceful, but her body wouldn't relax. She had to get out of here, even for a minute, just enough to clear her head. She slipped into the hallway. The mansion was dark. The warm lights dimmed. The air filled with the faint smell of polished wood and cologne. She walked slowly, her bare feet making no sound on the cold floor. Her heart pounded harder with every step. "I just need to think," she whispered to herself. "That's all. Think." She avoided the room with the pictures. She didn't want to see them again. Not now. She made it to the main staircase and carefully grabbed the railing. The living room downstairs was empty, quiet. She walked to the front door, every step heavier than the last. It wasn't locked. She hesitated, then turned the handle. Cool night air hit her face. She stepped outside. Freedom should have felt good. It didn't. Something in her chest tightened, like the darkness around the mansion wasn't empty the way it seemed. Still, she moved farther onto the stone steps. Then, a sharp crunch. Someone stepped on gravel. Lila froze. Her skin prickled. She turned her head slowly. A shadow shifted behind the line of trimmed trees near the driveway. Her breath caught. "Hello," she whispered, even though she knew she wouldn't get an answer. The shadow moved again. Her heart jumped into her throat. A figure stepped out far enough that she could see the shape of a man tall, shoulders hunched slightly, like he was trying to stay hidden. He didn't move toward her. He waited, watching. Lila stumbled back, panic rushing up fast and cold. "No, no, no." She turned, trying to run back inside. A hand grabbed her waist and pulled her in. She screamed, "Lila!" His voice, low, dark, familiar. She stilled immediately. Adrian. His arm tightened once around her waist, like he was checking she was real. Then he turned her behind him with one smooth, controlled motion. "What are you doing outside?" His tone wasn't loud, but it cut through the night like steel. She opened her mouth to answer, but, "You know what? Not now." His voice dropped even lower. "Inside." "No, wait, there's someone." "I know." Her breath caught. He already knew. Of course he knew. Adrian walked down one step, the cold air wrapping around them both. The shift in his body was immediate. The soft tension he had around her disappeared. His shoulders lifted, his frame straightened, and his voice lost any hint of warmth. He became the Mafia boss every man feared. He stared into the darkness where the figure stood. "Come out." Nothing. Now. The figure stepped forward, but only a foot. His hands were in his pockets, his posture small, like he knew exactly who he was standing in front of. Adrian didn't move. His hand slid behind him, brushing Lila's knee lightly, guiding her back. Shielding her. Who sent you? Adrian asked. The man didn't speak. Lila's breath shook. She pressed a hand against her mouth. A soft sound came from Adrian, just a low, irritated hum, and then he reached inside his jacket. The man flinched. Lila grabbed Adrian's arm. No! Adrian, wait. He didn't take out a gun. He took out his phone. He typed once, then looked back up at the figure. Since you won't talk, Adrian said calmly, my men will make you talk. The figure bolted. Adrian didn't chase him. He didn't need to. 2 guards seemed to appear out of the darkness, fast and silent, sprinting after the man. The sound of footsteps faded into the night. Lila's body trembled. Adrian turned back to her. The sharpness in his eyes didn't fade, but something else pushed through concern. Strong, hot, overwhelming concern. What were you doing outside? He asked again, voice tight. I needed air, she whispered. I needed to think. Outside this house isn't safe. I didn't know someone was. That's why you don't go out alone. His hand cupped the side of her jaw before she could step back. His thumb brushed against her cheek, slow and warm, but his jaw was clenched the whole time. Lila, if anything had happened to you out here. He cut himself off, looking away for a second. His chest rose and fell in one hard breath. She swallowed. Adrian, you can't control everything I do. His eyes snapped back to hers. I'm not trying to control you. Yes, you are, she whispered. You keep saying you want to protect me, but I feel like I'm drowning. You knew me when I was a child. I don't even remember that. You have pictures of me everywhere. You saved me, but you also hide things from me. You can't expect me to just stay here without asking questions. His fingers stilled on her cheek. You're scared of me, he said quietly. She looked away. I'm scared of everything right now. A long beat passed. Then he stepped even closer, lowering his head so his forehead almost touched hers. Lila, you think I don't see how this looks? His voice was softer now, almost painful. I know I'm not. Easy. I know I hold too much. I know what people say about me, but I am not your enemy. She blinked hard. Then who was that man? Why was he watching the house? He hesitated. That alone made her stomach drop. Tell me, she whispered. He wasn't here for me. Adrian's hand moved from her cheek to the side of her neck, warm and steady. He was here for you. Her breath caught. From me? Why? Because the man who tried to shoot me at the club wasn't aiming at me. Her heart stopped. Adrian held her eyes, his own unreadable. He was aiming at you. Her knees weakened so fast, she grabbed his shirt to steady herself. Why would anyone shoot at me? She whispered. I don't know yet, he said. But I will. He guided her back inside before she could argue. The air felt heavier, but not from fear, from something else. Something warmer. Something confusing. When the door closed, he finally spoke again. You want honesty? His voice was low, deep. Here it is. Yes, I've watched you. Yes, I kept pictures of you. Yes, I made choices you might never agree with. His thumb brushed her lower lip without thinking. But I have never not once wanted to scare you. Her breath grew shaky. His hand slid to the back of her neck. Slow, careful. You want space, he murmured. You want answers. You want to understand me. I'll give you all of that. Her eyes lifted to his. But don't ever walk outside alone again. Not until I take care of whoever's trying to hurt you. Her chest tightened. Her voice softened. Adrian, you can't keep saying things like that. Why? Because they make it hard to hate you, she whispered. His grip on her neck loosened, fingers sliding into her hair. And what if I don't want you to hate me? Her breath trembled. Then don't give me reasons to. His eyes burned into hers, silent for a moment. Then very gently, he tilted her chin up. He didn't kiss her. He didn't push. He just looked at her like she was something precious he wasn't allowed to touch. Lila, he whispered, You're not leaving this house. Not because I force you, but because you're finally seeing the truth. Her pulse fluttered. What truth? He leaned closer, his breath brushing her lips. That you were never meant to be far from me. Her heart pounded so hard she thought he could hear it, and she hated how much she didn't want to step back. Lila didn't fall asleep. She tried. God, she tried. She lay in bed staring at the ceiling, listening to every soft sound in the mansion, the ticking of the hallway clock, the distant hum of the AC, the muted footsteps of guards outside. But her mind wouldn't shut off. Someone was after her. Not Adrian, not his enemies. Her. And the shooter at the club hadn't missed. He had aimed right at her chest, the exact place she touched now without thinking. Her breath shook. She didn't know what scared her more, the fact that someone wanted her dead, or the way Adrian held her as if losing her would destroy him. The house was quiet now. Too quiet. She rolled onto her side, hugging a pillow, eyes burning from exhaustion she couldn't escape. A soft knock broke through the silence. She sat up fast. The door opened slowly, and Adrian stepped inside. He wasn't dressed like earlier. The black shirt was gone. Now he wore only a fitted white t-shirt and dark pants, his hair pushed back with his fingers like he'd been running his hands through it all night. He looked less like a mafia boss, and more like a man who hadn't slept either. "Are you awake?" he asked softly. She nodded. He stepped closer, not too close. Just enough that she felt the shift in the air. "I need to explain something," he said. "About earlier." She swallowed. "About someone trying to kill me?" His jaw tightened. "Yes." Silence pressed around them. "Come with me," he said finally. She hesitated. "Adrian, you need the truth," he said gently. "And I'm done letting you walk in the dark." Her heart pounded, but she stood. He led her out of the room, down the hallway, and toward an office she hadn't seen before, a heavy, dark door, a coded lock, thick walls. When he closed the door, the room felt even quieter. A single floor lamp lit the space, warm against the deep wood shelves and leather furniture. "Sit," he said, motioning to the couch. She did. He stayed standing for a moment, leaning his hands on the desk, his back to her. His shoulders were tense, his breath unsteady. She had never seen him like this, almost uncertain. Finally, he turned to her. "Lila, you weren't in the wrong place at the wrong time." His voice was low, heavy. "Your parents' accident wasn't an accident." Her blood went cold. "No," she whispered. "No, that's not—" "Yes," he said softly. "It took my men weeks to find the truth. I didn't want to tell you until I had all of it. But after tonight—" He stopped, eyes dark with a pain she didn't understand. "I can't keep it from you." Her hands went cold. "My parents, someone killed them?" He nodded once, slow, painful. "And they tried to kill you too," he added quietly. "But you survived." Her vision blurred. "Why? Why would anyone?" Adrian walked toward her slowly, lowering himself onto the small table in front of her, close but not touching. "Your father was not just an ordinary man," he said. "He was involved in something years ago, something dangerous, something that got him killed." Lila shook her head hard. "No, my dad was a mechanic. My mom worked at a bookstore. They were normal. They were— Your father worked for a man named Valentino Ferretti," Adrian said quietly. She froze. Adrian continued. "Ferretti ran guns, drugs, and money across half the East Coast. He used your father as a cover his shipments moved through delivery trucks your dad helped repair." Lila felt sick. "But your father wanted out." Adrian's voice softened. "He didn't want to raise you around danger. He planned to expose Ferretti. He had proof names, documents, everything." Her breath caught. "And when Ferretti found out," Adrian said darkly, "he sent someone to silence him. And your mother. And you." Shivers ran over her skin. "Adrian," she whispered. "I was just a kid." "That didn't matter," he said. "You were a witness, a loose threat, So they cut the brakes. The car crashed. And you survived only because you were in the back seat. Her throat closed. Tears burned her eyes. I don't remember any of this, she managed. You hit your head, he said gently. Hard. The doctor said memory loss was hard. Normal. Her hands trembled. So the man at the club he worked for, Ferretti? Yes. And the person tonight? Most likely another one of his men, Adrian said. Now that your name resurfaced on a report, they know you're alive. Lila covered her face with both hands, her voice cracked. What do they want from me? I don't know anything. I can't hurt them. That doesn't matter, Adrian said softly. You're still a threat. You're the only living reminder of what your father tried to do. She shook her head again and again. No, this can't be real, this can't. Adrian reached out slowly, as if afraid she might break. Lila. She didn't look up. Lila, he said more firmly. She dropped her hands, tears streaking down her cheeks, and that's when his control finally cracked. He cupped her face with both hands, his touch warm, steady, grounding. His thumbs wiped her tears gently. I'm sorry. His voice broke in a way she had never heard before. God, I'm so sorry you had to hear it like this. She grabbed his wrist, clinging to him as if she might drown. How do you know all this? She whispered. Why did you look for the truth? Why do you care so much? He swallowed hard. And then he said the words that hit her like a punch. Because I've been watching you since the day you disappeared from the crash site. Her breath shook, hard. I was there, Lila. His voice was a whisper. Your father was trying to bring proof to my father. He trusted us. That night, I was in the car following behind yours. I saw it happen. I pulled you from the wreck before the flames spread. Lila's heart stopped. You saved me? She whispered. Yes. His eyes glowed with something deep and raw. And when you disappeared into the system when your aunt took you, I kept looking. Why? Her voice broke. Why me? He leaned closer, his forehead almost touching hers. Because you were the only good thing in a night full of blood and fire. His voice was low, shaking. Because you were innocent. Because you were alive. And because I made a promise that day that I would protect you, no matter the cost. Her breath hitched. And now, he whispered, I'm keeping that promise. Lila didn't move. She couldn't. The air between them shifted softer, warmer, dangerous in a completely different way. His hands slid from her cheeks to her jaw, then down her arms. Her heart hammered so loudly she knew he could hear it. Adrian, she whispered, voice trembling. Yes? His tone was deep, low, almost painful. You should let me go. He closed his eyes for a second, breathing slowly through the ache inside him. I can't, he whispered. Not anymore. She shouldn't want this. She shouldn't want him. He was dangerous, complicated, consuming. He kept secrets. He pulled her into a world that terrified her. But when his hand moved to the back of her neck, guiding her closer, slow, careful, as if giving her time to pull away, her body didn't move. Her lips parted, her breath trembled, and Adrian seemed to break. He pressed his forehead to hers, his breath warm on her mouth. You're shaking, he whispered. So are you. His thumb brushed her lower lip again. A question? A warning? A temptation? Tell me no, he said quietly. Say the word, and I'll walk away. She couldn't. She didn't. Her fingers curled into his shirt, not pulling him away, pulling him closer. That was all he needed. He kissed her, slow at first, soft, like he was afraid she might disappear. His lips moved with a heat that melted every fear she had. His hand slid into her hair, the other pulling her gently against him. Lila gasped against his mouth, her body trembling. Adrian groaned softly, a sound she felt, down her spine, and deepened the kiss. Still gentle, still careful, but full of everything he never said out loud. Years of searching, years of promises, years of watching from afar. And she kissed him back, not because she should, not because she felt safe, but because she felt something she couldn't explain, something that scared her more than any gunshot ever could. When they finally pulled apart, both breathless, he rested his forehead against hers. "Lila," he whispered, "you're not alone anymore, and I swear I will never let anyone hurt you again." Her heart ached, her eyes softened, and she believed him, even if she shouldn't. The end. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, and share for more stories.